So what we're going to do is we're going to open it up to questions. I want to do this in a way to see, first of all, how many of you have questions? Just real quick show of hands. How many of you have questions? Okay. Not bad. I had another strategy, but we're going to go ahead with this, inshallah. So let's open up to questions. Sheikh Haifa, why don't you come join me? And we will start on the right side of the room, inshallah. Maryam, you had your hand up? Go ahead, bismillah. Does New Year's have anything to do with Christmas? No. We'll keep going around the room this way. Anyone else? Yes. You gotta go louder.
The Dajjal, the false Messiah, has one eye, and there is something written on the forehead that it says, "Believe in me, I'm God." That if you're a true believer in this life, when he comes, he is not going to fool you.
Next. Anyone? Going once? Going twice? Okay, over there.
Can't hear you. Now. No, he looked like. Yeah. Yeah, he chose. He asked. You can read this in Ibn Kathir, the commentary on these. He asked, who wants to go out, looks like me? And the young man raised his hand, but he was very young. Sayyidina al-Masih didn't want that because he was very young. But then there was the only one, and he was exactly like him. They didn't know the difference.
Let me clarify one thing. So this is what's mentioned in many books of tafsir, but I want to make it clear for people, is that the Quran only says وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. This explanation is added by the scholars. Okay? This is not Quran. This is not hadith. This is historians who said this could be the meaning of what it is, right? So what we have to understand is that there's some things which are qat'i. What we know is it made it seem like that. These stories, some books of tafsir have different explanations of exactly what happened. This is the one in a very popular tafsir, which is Ibn Kathir, that's being mentioned. But sometimes if you get into a debate and you get into a discussion and say, no, but my history book says this, and Josephus the historian, he mentioned this thing, and there's no need to debate too much about something that is neither Quran nor authentic hadith, right? This is a story that's possible and maybe probable, but it's not 100% Quran and hadith. So we got to keep that clear, inshallah. Yes.
Nada. Nada.
Yeah.
So, what was the mission of, what's going to be the mission of Sayyidina Isa when he comes in, in the end of the, when Qiyamah is about to come?
What is it, Nada? Say it again.
What's the mission of Prophet Isa?
Was the mission when he comes back?
Yes.
Is actually a couple of things. One, to expose the false Messiah, and then he believes in the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam. So these are the main two things.
Yes, over there. Right there.
Yes. He's behind you, yeah.
How about if you have the same religion as someone and he gives you a gift, can he make it the religion you're celebrating?
What is it?
Okay, so what kind does he give you? A Christmas gift is what you're saying, or he gives you a regular gift?
If let's say I'm Christian and he gives me a Christian gift, and I give him one back. Is that allowed?
Well, let's say you're Muslim. Let's say you're Muslim because I think you are Muslim, right? Okay, so let's say you're Muslim and a Muslim gives you a gift. What's the question then? Can you give him another gift back?
Yeah, but it's
a Muslim gift back. Absolutely, you should. It's sunnah. It's great. That's recommended. Inshallah. Okay, up here in the front. Yeah, right. Go ahead. I can hear you.
Not sure.
Was born. Okay, so the question was why can't we celebrate Christmas if it's the day that he was born? Well, first of all, it's not the day that he was born, as I mentioned in the lecture. Second of all, we don't celebrate the day that all the other prophets were born. So what's the point of celebrating it, right? And thirdly, the stuff that people do on Christmas, it has nothing to do with Prophet Isa. Right? So like, what does Santa Claus have to do with Isa? Candy canes, Christmas trees. Absolutely nothing to do with Prophet Isa. So the Christmas is a combination of these things. Next.
He didn't like it.
Yeah.
He didn't like it.
I just have a question that not a question, is a comment that I felt that was misplaced, not misplaced, was not said and verified.
If it's a comment, it's got to be super short. I'm letting you know.
Which is the main reason why we don't celebrate Christmas. That's what I know. Because also my mom is a convert. So what I understand is because of that shift of the celebration of Isa according to them. Would they consider Isa ibn Allah? Allah? So that's the main reason why we don't celebrate Christmas, and then everything else that we said.
So that's not the main reason, but that is part of it, obviously. Yes, but that is obviously part of it. But let's say the Christians don't. Let's say there's a small group of Christians who celebrate Christmas, and they don't commit shirk. They're monotheist Christians. Let's say we're still not going to celebrate Christmas. It doesn't make a difference. Okay. Jazakumullah khair. Yes, over there, and then Jabir. I'm going to give you some numbers. Number 1, Jabir. Number 2, number 3, and number 4, and you're number 5. Remember your numbers, please.
So, is the day that Sayyidina Isa was born known to us Muslims?
What is it?
Yeah. No. This is the day that he was born known to us. No, we don't know exactly what day he was born. Next, number 2.
I have many questions. Let me just ask one.
Just one, please.
Yeah. So, like you say Christmas, I was born. What's the significance of Easter then, It's kind of something similar, right?
The same principle. It's something we don't celebrate. It's becoming more commercial. Those about eggs and stuff. So it's nothing to do with us as Muslims. Again, you basically respect their belief, but I don't have to believe in it. This is how I look at it. I'm going to say a simple, it's not a story, it's an incident happened to me 3 days ago. A non-Muslim came in we had a business and then and then he said, oh, I'm sorry, I was supposed to give you something. So he brought a chocolate. And the chocolate was in a bag. And as he was giving it to me, he said, oh, I'm so sorry. And I didn't pay attention. The bag was actually Christmas bag. So some people really respect it. And he said, I'm so sorry, I really didn't mean it. And he took it back. So here you go. Why do we have to, exactly what you said, right? We respect, but we don't have to be like them. We don't have, and I say this to everybody. Do they celebrate Ramadan with us? Do they celebrate Eid with us? Done.
And this is the benefit of having a similar hijab style to the statues of Mary that they have in their churches. All right, who's number 3? Yes.
I want to ask a question about a point you brought about some Muslim countries.
Can you put the mic, please?
You mentioned some Muslim countries that are doing some kind of inappropriate way of trying to show ways of celebrating Christmas where there's no real minority who are Christians. But I wanted to refer to other Muslim countries, for example, Egypt. And I saw that it's not that way. It's more of being really perhaps focused on social solidarity, where they would have kind of official statements saying blessed birth of or whatever, stuff like that. So what is your comment about that?
Okay. So I don't know the exact context of Egypt, but I can tell you this. Under an Islamic state, a proper Islamic state, Islam does not stop Christians from having their own Christian celebrations. So they're allowed to have their own celebrations, right? And so if there's a group of Christians and they're having their own area and they're having their own celebrations within their own space, there's no need to stop them. What I find, and I don't know the context here, I lived in Egypt, but I didn't see this stuff. What I find is that oftentimes Muslims will, under the guise of saying, well, we want to show respect to them, whatever, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add some practices ourselves to just kind of like water it down and kind of like have a hybrid between Christmas, non-Christmas, celebrating because we welcome the birth of Isa, we love Jesus too. Again, this is not the day he was born, nor do we celebrate birthdays, nor do we have anything to do with this. So again, I don't know the context here, but I have a suspicion that usually this is like trying to open the door for like a little hybrid version of that. And that shouldn't be happening in a Muslim society. Next, over there, back behind you.
So two quick things. The one is you had mentioned, Sheikh Mustafa, that this is a pagan holiday originally. You also mentioned that winter gifts, that type of thing. To the extent that we're celebrating things like winter, which is what the origin of the holiday is, how dicey does that become because of the pagan origins of it and celebrating the solstice? The other thing is the commercial aspect of it, where people will just say, well, this is a commercial holiday. There aren't any explicitly religious symbols. Maybe it's a polar bear, or it's Darth Vader in a red hat, or something like that. And it's not really anything to do with Christianity. What are your thoughts with respect to that?
Sure. So number one answer is very dicey. Agreed. Number two, this is a common argument that people make. And it doesn't matter how much people change their religion around, right? If there is still, if the celebration or the holiday has its origin in a religious celebration, and there are still significant remnants of that religious celebration, then we should be partaking in it. People who make this argument, I hear this argument all the time though. If you still go around, you still see nativity scenes all over people's gardens, like in their front yard. So the argument that it's completely disconnected from Christianity is completely false. And the argument that many of the symbols within Christmas are completely disconnected from Roman paganism is completely false. If you do the research about every single symbol and every single aspect, this didn't happen randomly. Why the color red? Why the color green? Where's this guy? Why does he have a long beard? And why is he dressed up in these colors? Every single thing has an origin and an explanation. If you go and you research every single aspect of it, you'll realize that it has one of two origins, and the commercialism is not going to remove those origins. Right. Next, yes. You can answer.
Regarding religious holidays, what about other holidays such as like the New Year's or maybe Thanksgiving? Are these allowed to celebrate that?
I think the principle which Sheikh Mustafa has just explained is what is the origin of it. So I say New Year, what are we celebrating? Please forgive me. We're celebrating 1 year closer to the grave. Am I right? Is that something I will need to celebrate? And remember, we live in a time where everything is becoming so commercialized, right? For example, Valentine's Day is going to come in February, the day that is the highest amount of chocolate that is being sold. It's money. And next is flowers. Why do I have, as a Muslim, and I live in this life with a focus on my akhirah, why do I have the distracted? Can I have a celebration outside these? Yes, of course. Did the Rasul ﷺ celebrate? Did he have his family? Did they eat together? Why do I have to do this? Same thing, go to the origin of the Thanksgiving. We shouldn't be celebrating it. And we as Muslims always are thankful, right? عَجَبًا لِأَمْرِ الْمُؤْمِنِ كُلُّ أَمْرُهُ خَيْرٌ. It's amazing, the affair of the Muslims. All his affair is good. إِذَا أُعْطِيَ شَكَرَ. When Allah gives him or her, they are grateful. Every single day Allah gives us from morning to evening. Then I have to be grateful. I don't need a day to be grateful. But if it is a day where, you know what, it's a holiday, the family is coming, those coming from different states, we're going to have a dinner, that's okay. But I don't have to do turkey, because again, the highest number of turkey sold is on that day. We really all have to be very careful not to fall into that trap. It's a trap to get more money. It's simple.
So okay, so your question back to allowed. So this is I'm very glad that she added this point. So if you want to simply say black and white, is it allowed or not allowed? Anything that is rooted in a religious festival like Easter and Christmas and Halloween and things like that, it's not allowed. Anything that's not rooted in that, like the more rajih opinion about the origin of Thanksgiving, 4th of July, things like that, it could potentially be allowed, but be careful of the consumerist mentality. Okay, hopefully that answers your question. Yes, Isa.
MashaAllah.
We talked about you like a lot today.
MashaAllah.
Go ahead, Isa. Sorry, go ahead.
What?
And like wrapping it like a gift in like green and red and stuff, and then giving it to someone, and it's so emotional. You shouldn't do that. But what if like your intention is just because you like the colors red and green, and your gift isn't like actually based on Christmas.
Masha, I love your questions
Yes.
always. Masha, they're like the high level questions. Masha, this is a common question that people ask. So, what if you're doing something which has the symbol, but the intention, you don't have the bad intention? Remember the story of Adi that we mentioned? He had the cross, but his intention was not that this cross represents Prophet Isa dying on the cross anymore. So even if your intention is good and that symbol doesn't represent it, if that symbol is known in society to represent something else, you should even avoid the symbol. What I mean to say is, your intention is not enough. It is your intention, and it's also the public perception. What do people think about what that symbol means, right? So you should avoid any symbols that people know that these colors are associated with Christmas. Can you use red and green any other time throughout the year? Use them every time throughout the year except during this time. Okay, if you like red and green.
Can I add just one
Yes.
thing? Yeah. We all have to remember this hadith, which Imam Ahmad said this deen is based on 4 hadiths, and this is one of them. Al-halal bayyin wal-haram bayyin, wa baynahuma umurun mushtabihat. Halal is clear, obvious, wa haram is clear. And then in between there is doubtful. Right? And what did he say? لا يعلمهن كثير من الناس. الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام. The majority of people don't know them. And we these days lives in these days. Many of it is not clear. What did he say? He gave you the idea. He gave me the answer. فمن اتقى الشبهات فاستبرأ لدينه وعرضه. If you stay away from it, you have saved your honor and your deen. Done. I say this to myself all the time. I'm not gonna die. If I'm gonna die, actually Istanbul tells me I have to do it. But if I'm not gonna die, why do I want to do that? Right? It's doubtful. I don't know the answer. It's not very clear. If something in me tells me maybe it's not okay, just stay away from it, and you're much safer. And there's a lot of alternatives, right? So may Allah make it easy.
Yes, next. Go ahead.
MashaAllah. Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, not to our knowledge. That was one question.
Oh,
You gotta come back.
It's okay.
Go ahead, go ahead. We're making an exception for you. No, go ahead.
Can you give me the mic so everyone can listen?
Also, God who the young man who went outside of the house or the place to for Isa, did he was he guaranteed Jannah or?
Okay, very good question. Was he guaranteed Jannah? I learned this from a long time ago. I don't own Jannah. I don't know who's going to get in or not. That's one. But in general, if you do something pleasing to Allah, let alone give your life to save someone, right? As long as it's in the way that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah inshallah will give you Jannah. Can I say yes for sure? I don't know.
Next. We're going around the room like this.
Oh,
yes.
there's somebody from this side. Yes.
No, we're not done with this side.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're trying to be fair across the board. Yes, go
I
ahead.
think there was a lot of questions from the okay. What?
Why is it specifically Santa and why that person, what's his origin story?
Okay.
Santa.
So the origin story of Santa, don't get me started because it's going to be another 20-minute talk. Another day, inshallah, we'll get into the origins of that. All right, so we're going to make, okay, last question here, and then we're going to go back around the room, inshallah. Yes?
We'll finish at 9.
The point is to go around the whole room so that people can, whoever, didn't have the question before, we're trying to be fair across the board. Go ahead.
So these people like St. Paul and St. John, they came after the death of Prophet Isa, and they were the New Testament. But how come some Christians believe in them despite having the Old Testament, which kind of contradicts the New Testament?
Okay, so the question is, St. Paul came after Prophet Isa alayhi salam, and John, you're referring to John who wrote the Gospel. So, there's 4 main Gospels in the Bible. The Gospel according to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So why are people believing? And John has a lot more problematic content than the other 3 Gospels. So the question is, why are people believing in that? Well, the reason why people believe in people don't always believe according to for the right reasons. They believe in either the charisma of the person, the power of the church to tell stories and say this is why you need to believe in that. And if you look at a lot of things about John, he starts his book and talks about the dreams that he had, and he goes in back and relates it to the logos, and then he gives his own tafsir and interpretation. Paul's doing the exact same thing. So politics plays a role, charisma plays a role, and Paul organized the church, the early church, and got basically this idea of Catholicism and started these beliefs. He was very active. He was going around and he started his own movement. So the other disciples of Prophet Isa alayhi salam, they didn't, they were going and teaching people what is right. But somebody comes along, utilizes money, utilizes power, goes and makes a lot of connections. They start spreading their false beliefs this way. So this is the way Allah allows things to take place. Sometimes people have power, sometimes people have money, and they're able to influence society in the wrong way because of that. And that's, of course, Allah allows this, but because of their resources and because of their energy, this is what happens. Okay, back to this.
Okay.
You can start the first one.
I'm sorry,
She's a violinist.
So I'm a violinist, and my orchestra has to go and play do caroling and play Christmas music for other classes. So I don't know how to deal with that. Is it the same?
I'm going to ask a tough question.
Go ahead.
Why you are a violinist? You should. This is the issue. When we start doing things that Islam at least say this is, some people will tell you it's absolutely not allowed. That's instrument specifically. This is what happens. It's a cascade. One lead to the other. So when I go to do something, did I think when the time is going to come and they're going to ask me to go and do it, what I'm going to answer? Did you do, when you join an orchestra, you're part of them. So did you ask yourself, what I'm going to do? If they're going to tell me, not necessarily Christmas, something else that I am uncomfortable as a Muslim, what I am going to do? Next question.
Then one of my friends was asking me about how her friend is like hosting a Christmas party and she doesn't know if she's allowed to go or not.
She's a Muslim and the friends are, the answer is no. Again, exactly the same thing, same as the greeting, the same. What do? You say, I'm not gonna come, please forgive me, but I'll come and visit you another time. Make sure another time you visit, or you say, you know what, I will invite you afterward. You just have to explain to people that this is something we do not celebrate. And if you make it clear from day one, believe me, it will save you a lot of issues. You don't have to explain every year, oh, I know you don't celebrate. It's just the first time uncomfortable, and then life will be much easier.
Yeah. Also, for that, if you're gonna stick with the violin thing, we can write you a letter from the budget, so you can opt out of that. So, lesser of two evils. Yes. Go ahead. Yes. You asked the question already, though, right?
Mariam, she asked already.
She asked one. Should we let her another one?
It's okay.
Go ahead. You look so eager.
Yeah, she is.
So, what do the Christmas tree and the star and the ornaments and all those stuff stand for? Like, why do we do those?
Now here you do.
So the Christmas tree, there's a lot of different origin stories about how this began and why they chose it, and whether the triangle shape of the Christmas tree represents the Trinity and the 3 points and all of that. So I tried to do a lot of research on this. There's too many different stories, so I couldn't figure that exactly out. The star one, again, there's also theories. So a lot of this happened around a few centuries ago. So I don't recall all of them, so I can't give you more details about it. But for a lot of them, it's very hard to trace some of them. So some things you can trace very clearly, some things you cannot trace very clearly.
We'll wrap it at 9.
It's all pagan, yes. Should we?
Wrap it at 9.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Who will be able to recognize the Dajjal as the false Messiah? Is it all Muslims?
The true believers. The true believers. That's why we ask that Allah protect me from. So the true believers will read it, will read that he is not.
Okay. Next, you have a question? Okay, go ahead. In the front, right here.
Right here. MashaAllah. A lot of questions from the youth. I love it.
So, like, what if it's Christmas and, like you're Muslim, but then, like, you have this mug and then, like, it's green and red, and then, like, it's your favorite mug.
That's okay. It's your favorite mug, just don't show it up in Christmas. So from next week, use it. From January, use it. All the way till when you get to the Christmas time, just don't use it. That's not too hard, right?
Anyone else? Going once? Going twice? Okay, Jabir.
Another question I have. Sheikh Haifa said that, there's some like a weak opinion that Maryam is a prophet. Like, how do we know that she's not a prophet?
Because we many reasons. Number one, all the prophets are men.
And two,
وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِنْ قَبْلِكَ إِلَّا رِجَالًا نُوحِي إِلَيْهِمْ. Allah said at the end of Surah Yusuf, we have sent what we didn't send before you, but men that we revealed to them. Yes.
I'll add some on that. So this is the opinion of Ibn Hazm, who's one of the great scholars. But the reason why his opinion is not taken by most people is they say, well, what is the role of a prophet, right? The role of a prophet, the role of a messenger is to convey the message to people in a way that they're likely going to accept it. Among the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did is the type of people that he chose to be prophets. One of the things was he would choose generally people from among themselves. Number two, he would choose people who were not from the lowest part of society. They were noble and honorable people within the society, so that people don't have an excuse to say, oh, you sent like some random person who we don't even know. So they said because of that, those societies, they lived in a time where who plays the role of a public persona who's going to go around from door to door talking to people, talking to tribes and everything? This was men in that society, right? So it would have not been conducive for people to accept Islam if a woman was going to be playing that role of the prophet. That is what the majority of scholars said. And Ibn Hazm has his own responses to that, but that's why they kept it that way. Second one?
Yeah, next one.
Yes.
So the ayat, awsani bis salati wa zakati ma dumtu hayya. So how is Isa going to be doing it now? Like, because he's in the heavens, how is he going to do it? He's still alive technically.
So when Allah says وَأَوْصَانِي, mean he taught me, and then he taught me to deliver the message.
And also so what is
No, let's do two. Inshallah, we got to get other people. Behind you, had your hand up? Yes? Go ahead.
Do they mention when
Allah يخبرون.
do they mention when Sayyidina Isa had the meeting to ask the people who would take to take his place to dress up as him?
What is it?
Does it mention when that happened?
Does it mention in Ibn Kathir that the person was also supposed to wear the clothing of Isa when he was going to look like him?
Wasn't mentioned.
Okay.
What a question, mashallah.
Next.
Last one, please.
We have 4 minutes. So I'm gonna stop that question. Only questions pertaining to this topic. Otherwise, it'll become a fiqh session. Please. Jazakumullah khair. Next, any question pertaining to this topic? Yes, over here.
Alaikum salam.
Is it wrong or like looked down upon if you were to gather with family on Christmas Day, since most people are off work anyways, and just gather and have dinner? Most people are you can have a gathering like any other time of the day, or any other time of the year, but like not on Christmas.
Yeah, I mentioned this for Thanksgiving also because it's a holiday season. Let's say you're 3 or 4 people, everybody in college in different cities, and they're all coming. Of course, you're going to celebrate, but your niyyah, your intention is you're getting a family get together. It's not celebrating Christmas. Absolutely fine.
So we'll end it up here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us a correct understanding of our Islam. May Allah grant us a deep understanding of our culture and how to navigate through these issues. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us on the truth. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to live as Muslims and to die as Muslims. Ameen. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.